All right, this is going to be recording 750. Again, you can find me at ChristinaStacia918.com. Okay, so this is going to be more on the World Trade Center attack. It's also, I believe this one also has Benghazi in it. Again, it's going through my life from my childhood, from birth on up, and again, proving that Gene Roberts and a Manson occult stalked me all my life. Stalked several other people, used ICE technology on people, and committed terror attacks. And then proceeded on their little baseball cover-up, which is something that they've always been doing, that I told you I was born into. So I've got I would say 3 recordings to make. So I'm going to do one, and then I'm going to try to get another one done tonight, and then it'll probably be tomorrow before I get the rest done. So, okay. So, all right. So go back to my podcast and my decoded ciphers, my podcast decoded ciphers, and then my decoded ciphers on paper and electronic, what I got turned into the police. Electronic, I didn't get anything turned into the police besides my podcast or what they can see on Pinterest. It's just the paper books that I filled out that I've been, the ones that I decoded and filled up the books, and turned those into the police. So I still have more. But again, I'm waiting for the President of the United States to arrest Navy Gal 27, who would be your perp, the leader of Charles Manson, and her occult, instead of letting them run wild, running their racket ring, posing as police everywhere, acting like they didn't commit crime for 60 freaking years. I mean, this is insane. And I know, President Trump, you're not letting her do that. I know there's a whole lot of dirty shit she's doing. And I know she's taking it upon herself to issue threats. I know. So I'm getting frustrated. I want my life restored. And it cannot be restored in this limbo state. But this is what it is until Gene Roberts is arrested and Gene Roberts continues to commit crime, and I still continue to decode crime that she's committed in the past. I'm going to continue making reports to you, Secret Service, against Gene Roberts until the United States acts and arrest Gene Roberts. So anyway, okay, so I want you to go back all the way to 1976, where I was 5 years old. I was living on 11th or 12th Street in Globe, Arizona, in the first house. And I'm going back to several things happen here, okay? So I'm going back to the motorcycle, okay, where I took off and wanted to go ride on a motorcycle, and it was Sunday morning, and my mom, Clay, and my stepdad, Jeff, were sleeping in, and I decided I was going to go cruise across town at 5 years old and go to my mom's friend's house and go ask him for a bike ride. Okay, so that, and then also in combination with me decoding, the 409 might be in here too. I didn't even look for that, but CL code 409, me decoding all of my toys that I had in that house. Okay, that went with me to the next house, but I mean, I literally went back in time into the 70s and decoded all the toys I have. And like I told you in previous podcasts, all toys mean something. Everything she did in my life means something. I decode that out of everything. Okay, so the toys, and then probably also the swing set in the backyard, where she asked me to walk into the swing. Okay, so probably all that goes to this too, but my focus is more on the toys and the motorcycle. Okay, so remember when I told you she used a lot of songs throughout my life, songs I grew up with, songs I cherish and I treasure and I love, and I've always loved my whole life. She's used several songs and several artists. She's even used my mom's favorite artists, like Patsy Cline, knowing that I would grow up and look back in time and decode and see how she used precious music like Patsy Cline, and then I decode and find out that she took Patsy Cline's life. And then I find out by decoding how she abused and assaulted Patsy Cline's music, someone who I treasure, like treasure beyond anything. By the way, we used to have a crazy cup. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe somebody's got it in their room. It just disappeared. It was in the kitchen here. It just disappeared. But anyway, so decoding and knowing it's going to break my heart, I'm going to find out. And she sits back and she just thinks it's funnier than heck and thinks she's adequately passed the blame on someone else, and she'll get the heck away with it. And she sits and watches me from afar while she runs her racket, while I am in tears beside myself, figuring out everything that she has done. And then her trying to stop me from making reports against her. I mean, she is diabolical. So anyway, so some of the music that she uses, why my Scorpio 71, people like go on in my brain and they're like, it's kind of funny, but people are like have conversations in my brain. Like people come on in my brain and they're like, because I've got the same songs in there, songs that I grew up with, right? But they're there for a reason, because I'm trying to make reports against Gene Roberts. I love those songs. I treasure those songs. I love those songs. But I'm trying to either present day communicate, or I'm present day communicating, showing intelligence these songs, and to go look in these songs and to go decode these songs from what they can't hear, or what you can't hear from me or read from me, what I've decoded on paper directly, for you to go find out on your own, which you have like all your regular skill sets, which are like off the wall skill sets. And then you have all of my decoded ciphers. So you have everything you need to figure out everything. So it's my playlist stays like that. Plus it's an advantage because artists that get involved, they know the songs are on my playlist, Scorpio 71. So they know they like reserve time spots with the songs that are on, and they know to go on, and they'll have people go on for them, or they'll go on themselves, and they'll transmit messages back and forth to me, mental telepathy. And they use the song sound waves. Now, at the same time, I have to deal with Gene Roberts and her Manson occult hijacking the main sound wave lines and literally changing the music. But then I also have the artist in the back and look, we know she's going to do that, Christina. And they throw a spoon. Like, ignore, Christina. Ignore. So, anyway, so I get in my car, my playlist starts. I mean, it's like that. I have it like that for a reason. I'm not changing it unless I'm adding to it for a very valuable reason. I'm not changing it because I'm trying to make reports against Gene. But it's funny because the people on in my brain and mental telepathy, the playlist, they'll come on, they'll be like, they're like, like they want to hear new music or different music. And then, so they do a sign, they're like, which like, I'm just driving, and then people respond in my brain and they unmute and they go, Christina has her music like this for a reason. She loves this music, but it's not necessarily for entertainment. It's not like, she's got it like that for a reason. And they're just like, like, they don't get that. So it's kind of amusing. That's kind of amusing. But anyway, so back in 1976, Gene used a couple of songs that she warped around my childhood. And I could go back and figure out which came first, the chicken or the egg, her abusing me and then creating this song. And when I mean abuse, I mean literally like robotically controlling my body in whatever fashion or form she did so. Okay. So anyway, or like, did the song come out first and then she attacked me to match the song? Like, so I mean, you can go back and figure out what's important to take away from the music is she was abusing the music, which I know you know. She iced artists, she iced release, she iced record studios, she iced everybody. Okay. Then, so what you should pay attention to is dates, and do the decode around the dates, do the date math. And you always want to do it minus 76, minus 71, minus 37, 1976, minus 1971, minus 1937. Okay. So always do the date math with it. But like you already know that because how many hundreds of podcasts are we in now? So anyway, so going back to one of the songs that she used, when she iced me to get up and leave the house at 5 years old to trot across town to go ask my mom's friend for a motorcycle ride early on Sunday morning, she was using Lionel Richie's The Commodores. She probably even used Commandeer. She probably did use Commandeer. She probably did use that. But anyway, she used the Commodores Easy Like Sunday Morning. So then, and you know, easy is a phrase in Alcoholics Anonymous, easy does it or whatever. So then, you know, she also used my swing set in the backyard as the symbol for AA. And you know, simultaneously, her Manson occult converged, which I know you know the manifestation, how great this is, like how much larger this is today, converged with Synanon, the Dietrich occult. The guy named Dietrich ran it. I always say Dietrich occult. But anyway, so they converged together, and Synanon was huge. And I know today, you know it's a mass convergence of all occults, but still, who's the epicenter? Who's the runner of it all? Gene Roberts. She's the leader of Charles Manson. They are the financiers. They're the financial owners of the United States of America. Now, present day, I am told, not anymore. But I don't know. That's not. I don't know. The last I know, she financially owns the United States of America. But with as much that has happened, I'm sure a lot of it has left her hands by now. I can't see where she has that much financial ownership of America anymore. But anyway, so Charles Manson, and she got all that by stealing, by using artificial intelligence on people, stolen artificial intelligence to get what she wants, by stealing and killing. So the money that she's got isn't hers. So she's got to be like, she thinks I'm her play toy. She thinks like, I'm like, I don't know why you bother. I've got a podcast that goes to 8 billion people. She thinks she steals my podcast. She acts like she's Mrs. FBI. She steals what I decode. She runs and tells lies with her nasty little friends. And the United States is ordered to only listen to Gene because you know the United States and every rebellious person in the United States. I don't, not rebellious, but what is the word I want to say? Every go-getter there is in the United States. The United States is filled with go-getters. And like everybody in the United States is like, okay, Gene, we'll just take your orders and just do whatever you say and just listen to you and your freaking occult ring out calling the shots. Like, that sounds logistical, right? Okay, so anyway, but that's what she thinks is going on. So she thinks I'm her little play toy, but really, I think she is Donald Trump's little play toy. Like, she thinks she's cat mousing me. You can't cat mouse me. Like, or yarn, cat and yarn. And she's the whole cat thing, but you know that. Like a cat batting a thing of yarn. Like playing with your kill before you eat it. That's what she thinks she's doing to me. You cannot do that to me. You're making up lies, and you're making money spreading lies, and you're committing terrorism. And I've got a podcast turning you in for all of that repeatedly. So I don't know, but that's literally what she thinks she's doing to me. And I'm like, no. But literally, I think Trump is got to be doing that to her, if not the world doing that to her, because all that happens is she keeps getting rounded up more and more and more. And I am still able to make podcast reports against her. But anyway, so she used Lionel Richie, Easy Like Sunday Morning. Just like when I was little, she used, remember I told you, and it's important, the ciphers behind it and paying attention to all of it, because there's details of terrorism and all of it. When I walked home from school, when I lived at the second house, well, even at the first house also, when I lived at the first house, like I told you, when I lived at the first house and I walked to East Globe Elementary, and then when I lived at East and Cottonwood and I walked to East Globe Elementary, I always took 2 different routes. I always wanted to take the long route. My mom would say, no, you walk this way home. And I'd be like, no, I am not walking that way home. I want to take this way home. And I've decoded so much out of my walks home, crime and terrorism and assassinations and everything that she has committed based on my walks home. So anyway, she used a song around me when I was little walking home, and she used Supertramp, Take the Long Way Home. And then that probably goes to, there's probably a lot more there. I already know that already goes a lot more, because I know it's going to connect to Eagles, I know it's going to connect to 9/11. I already know, I can already see it. So anyway, so just because she uses an artist's music as a theme to commit terrorism with does not mean the artist was involved. Okay, the artists are just now finding out how their music was used. And she did that on purpose because she wants to break everybody's hearts. When everybody's hearts are broken, she wants to be the one to be the repair and continue hustling people. And people are wise to it now. It worked for a minute, but it doesn't work anymore. So anyway, that doesn't mean Lionel Richie or the Commodores have anything to do with any of that. They don't have anything to do with any of that. They didn't even know that their music was used until I'm like decoding. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, so I want to talk about Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie, you're the theme of this podcast. So, okay. So sorry, she's controlling my speech. It doesn't have to do with you directly. It has to do with how she used you. So there's a lot going on here. Okay. So, all right. So my toy connects to Alma's. My toy is from 1976. Okay, that I had connect to Alma School and Southern Lionel Playworld. So the motorcycle, Easy Like Sunday Morning, okay, that goes to Lionel Richie. Okay, and then my toys connect to, because my room was like, it was like a playland. I'd get all my toys out. I'd build a gigantic city out of everything. I had rail track sets that were like cityscape sets, and they snapped in place like blocks, like puzzle blocks. And I had tons of Weeble Wobbles. I had a Winnie the Pooh Weeble Wobble house. I had an A-frame house, Fisher-Price house. I had all kinds of things going on. And my whole room would be filled. My floor, it'd be like an entire city. So anyway, my toys were like a really, really big deal. And I went through and decoded, and then my Fisher-Price train set, all it. So I went and decoded all of my toys. Okay, so they all connect to terrorism. Okay, and her stalking of me. Okay, so these toys and the motorcycle she connects that or links that to her controlling me and my mom, Clayanne, and my stepdad, Jeff, and using Ice on Us and controlling our future addresses to living. First, we lived on Shannon. We moved up the street from my grandma. And then after that, we moved to Alma School, and I think we lived at, I can't remember if it was Alma School. It's all important, but Alma School and Ray. I think that's what Shannon was off of, was Alma School and Ray. I think we were on Alma School and Warner. And you know, Alma School and Warner, A-L and W, she's using is AIW, Alice in Wonderland. So off Alma School and Warner. Okay, and then after that, Jean iced us to move to Alma School and Southern. Okay, and this is in Chandler, Arizona. Okay. So, and it's just on the outskirts of Chandler, right before you get into the edges of Mesa. So, anyway, at the corner of Alma School and Southern was a mall. Okay. The name of the mall was Fiesta Mall. What is this song? And I've already got a bunch of decode on my Pinterest that Jean tried to wipe out and steal and delete and pretend like she's me. Where I was decoding Skate Chicks 86 and all that goes around. And then Kiefer Sutherland came out with that show. And I'm like, that's based off of Trish and Jeannie, two of my little skater friends that lived on Emerald with me, sent to me when I lived in Chicago. That's how they use that for that show. That's a jigsaw puzzle. And then that goes again back to your toys in 1976. So anyway, so I'm like, she's literally like stalking the ever living heck out of my family, my friends, and me. Like she like iced us our whole life. Like she literally thinks she knows you, but like this is insane. So anyway, so Fiesta Mall. So what goes to Fiesta Mall again? Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie comes out with this song called Dancing on the Ceiling. And in it goes, Fiesta forever. Okay, so Fiesta, that goes to Fiesta Mall. Okay, so Fiesta Mall was right there at the intersection. So again, that shows her stalking of Lionel Richie and the Commodores. Still in the early 80s. So then, okay, so it goes on and on. So in this intersection, okay, and remember I talked to you about this specific intersection, and I went studying the intersection recently, and I didn't write any of it down, because I don't want to be like, I don't want to, it would be, I call it adjective. What I mean by that is, it's more of what you already know, more of what you already know. It'd be, what is the word I always use? It would be gratuitous. It's not any new information you're finding out. You're going to find out more of the same over and over, because Jean did the same thing over and over and over all my life. So a lot of it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. So anyway, I didn't write any of it down. All it would do would be anger and upset people. But I just want to bring up, remember, when I told you lived on Alma School in Southern, they broke ground and they built a gigantic Bank of America, okay, right at that intersection. And at Christmas time, they put up the Christmas tree at the top of the building, which I think is still Bank of America today. They put a Christmas tree and the whole neighborhood was pissed off. Like everybody was pissed. Like, who does that big business think they are, putting a Christmas tree up there? They could just spy right into our backyards, and now they got a Christmas tree up there? Like, people were mad. Well, the Christmas tree also connects to the tumbleweed Christmas tree in Chandler, Arizona. Chandler, Arizona has the coolest tradition. Every year at Christmas, they create a gigantic, and I mean it is monumentous, they create a gigantic Christmas tree out of tumbleweeds, and then they decorate it, and it's called the Tumbleweed Christmas Tree, and it's there every year in Chandler. So they're linking the Bank of America Christmas tree to the tumbleweed Christmas tree in downtown Chandler Square, where they used to put that up at. And then that also links to me in the future when I go to North Chicago. I go to live with my dad in North Chicago, and then we go into the city, and I'm like, oh my God! We go to Marshall Fields. Even that, the tumbleweed, and then field. So, and then they started putting air marshals on planes. Jean pre-planned to do 9/11 before I was even born, and then assaulted me as a child. And then, as you guys know, she used her assault of me, flipped it around, tried to make it what she wanted, and then used that as a cover-up excuse as her reason to doing 9/11, and tried to blame. Originally, the Middle East was blamed. The Middle East did not do that. She used ICE on Middle Eastern pilots. She used ICE on Al Qaeda, Taliban. And then she is the one that flew those planes. She literally, I decoded all that. I decoded all this. This is insane. This is insane. She literally did this. She literally did the World Trade Center attack. And then she plans for me to find out. And then she turns around and tells a lie. She's got all pre-planned to go with her silent war stick. And then pre-plans to tell a lie, which a silent war was pre-planned even before the world, I'm not going to say even before she pre-planned the World Trade Center attack. Well, it would be before she pre-planned the World Trade Center attack, because I bet you anything, the World Trade Center attack, because the World Trade Center was built, and people that knew, I don't know who knew, I don't know, but people that knew the World Trade Center attack the World Trade Center attack that was being built, and I believe it was built by Rockefellers, knew it was gonna crash in the future. They knew it was gonna crash. I'm not saying everybody knew, but people knew it was built to be crashed. So anyway, I bet you anything, that tower connects to the Tower of Babylon in the Bible, because the silent war is a part of the pre-planning of the end times. Sorry, my speech is being controlled. I believe, after all, everything I go off of, everything I decode, the last bracket of the end times, like we're in the end times, this is the end. This is what I firmly believe. But I believe the last bracket of the end times, like the slope all the way down, I believe started at the forming of the United States of America. I believe it started with Christopher Columbus. So we've been in the end times ever since we've been a nation, and now we're towards the end of that. So I know we're in the end times. So I bet you that connects to Babylon. The Tower of Babylon. So, which connects to the silent war. So the silent war would obviously be pre-planned first because it's biblical, but then you have the Tower of Babylon, but the actual World Trade Center, the actual true knowledge of the planning of the World Trade Center, building of the Trade Center, could go back way even farther. I mean, like the concept of it. But anyway, so all this is all linked together, and Jean tried to cover all this up and wanted to get away with it. And Jean Roberts and her Manson cult did it. And then her backup, another group that starts with them, that she'll blame Mason. She thinks she's got it covered. This is her Charles Manson knick-knack paddywhack game. The Masons didn't do this either. And for people who don't know the Masons, I'm tired of saying this. Okay? I'm a basics at this, and I've been decoding for 10 years. I'm a basics at this. Okay, I'm going to tell you something very, very, very elementary for those of you guys who love to run around blaming the Masons. I'm going to tell you something idiot level. Okay, Masons are pro-Constitution. They are pro-United States. They are pro-Constitution. The New World Order, the Illuminati, are anti-Constitution. That's the whole point of the New World Order Illuminati, would be to break apart the Constitution. So you constantly blaming the Masons. The Masons did not do this. Plus, I've decoded her stalking and her trying to control the Masons also in history, and I mean all the way back. So she is a part of the Illuminati. I was told she is the leader. She is the leader of the Illuminati, which she's the financial owner of the United States of America. I bet she really is the leader of the Illuminati, but I bet you that was taken from her too. But she is the leader of Charles Manson. But that's another group of people. I'm sorry, she's controlling my speech. That's another group of people that Jean Roberts likes to blame. It's the Illuminati. No, it's not the Illuminati. You hide your occult within the Illuminati and underneath the Illuminati, because the Illuminati is conspiratorial and mysterious. So if you want to go kill someone, and then you go, oh, I'll just chalk it up to the Illuminati. And then the Illuminati's even full. Was that us? Did we do that? I'm not making light or making joke of it, but that's how they are. Like, either it's so big, there's so many people. Well, like, this is what they're saying. This was us, and then they keep their mouth shut, like it's Illuminati world. That's really what goes on. No, it is not the Illuminati. It is your Charles Manson occult. You committed those crimes, Gene. I decoded. I know your ways. I've decoded so many of your ciphers. I know you in and out, Gene Roberts. So the Illuminati is like a shell, okay? So the Illuminati would be no different than a group than the military or the seven world powers or the Masons or any other big group of anyone you can think of. She goes right underneath. And then what is she going to, and I even decoded that, where she tries to compress. I decoded her path of how she attacks companies. She compresses from the outside, and it's actually on my Pinterest. She compresses from the out. She has people. She compresses from the outside. Then she gets people underneath that are not in the company. So it'd probably be like your corporate espionage and your spies and your environmental fixers and breakers and stuff. And then she sneaks people in the company, and she creates a compression is what she does. So it's implosion and explosion at the same time until the company folds, molds, or crumbles. And what I mean by mold is like molds under her rule, like her taking over. That is her method of attack on corporations. And I've literally decoded it. So anyway, it is not the Masons. It literally is Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. It literally is Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. And there's so many people in Illuminati, you cannot blame, which is like the perfect shell for Gene. Everybody's hands are dirty. Everybody's hands are dirty. Let's just all grab hands and take a bow. Oh my God, it was us. Oh my God, we're just fabulous. No. It was not the freaking Illuminati. It was her Manson occult. So it's a perfect shell because you've got all these people, and there's people in Illuminati, like I told you, divided into different groups. Jean spits different lies to different groups of people, and she keeps people silent. Now, it doesn't happen anymore because of my podcast and my reports, but that's how she was strangleholding people. Now everybody knows everything, and you can't fool anybody anywhere. But to sit there and blame a large group of people, such as the Illuminati, you'd be surprised at who's in the Illuminati. Regular business people, famous celebrities. There's all kinds of people in the Illuminati. In fact, in order to be the leader of a company, a corporation, you basically, for some companies, you have to sign in blood agreeing to sign into the Illuminati. Like, this is their way, this is their society, this is what you will do. So you can't just blame the Illuminati. It is literally Charles Manson, her personally, and her occult. Now, how she did all the tooling and all the spidering and all that to try to make it look like it's everybody else, to give herself a little umbrella to hide under, that's all extraneous. I go after Gene, the leader. So anyway, okay. So at this intersection also, all right, at this intersection, Alma School and Southern, not only was Fiesta Mall, but also was a gigantic toy store. And it was the biggest toy store I've ever seen in my life. And my mom and my stepdad were fascinated with it. We were all fascinated. It was like a Walmart, but it was a toy store. Like, not a Supercenter Walmart, but like a regular Walmart. It's like, it was a toy store. It was huge. And the name of that toy store was Lionel Playworld. And the logo on the toy store was a kangaroo with a little roo in his pouch. Okay, so that also connects to 1976, and it connects to my Winnie the Pooh. Gene, I've told you in several podcasts have decoded. She has a whole Winnie the Pooh theme. So that's literally connecting back again to 1976, my little Winnie the Pooh treehouse. So also, there's something about a rabbit here that I've got a note on. You know that rabbit was in Winnie the Pooh, but it has something to do with Lionel Playworld. So also, this is something else she did. Okay, so Lionel Playworld is owned by Lionel Trains, the company that made Lionel Trains, which is a famous toy train maker, manufacturer. So this is what Gene used. Gene used planes, trains, and automobiles. But in my case, which they said there's probably a spin on the word for motorcycle that mixes in with automobile. Maybe it'd be like, maybe she's saying automobile like a baby mobile above a crib, and she's saying child robot. Remember that show in the 80s that used to be on, Sally, the little girl robot with the red dress? Okay, so she used planes, trains, and automobiles. Now, if you remember, that was made into a movie. So she's using motorcycle as a fill-in for automobile. She may have used, well, your dad had a truck, and trains and truck would be the same. There's probably a whole bunch. And so she's using planes as a reference too. And then planes, fields. And then she's also using the Sound of Music. The rains in Spain fall mainly on the plain. See, I'll decode on the Sound of Music. I decoded so much of the Sound of Music, it's insane. So anyway, planes, trains, and automobiles. Okay. So that was made into a movie that starred Steve Martin and John Candy. Okay. And John Candy, who's gone now, who's passed away now, I believe he was an SNL actor. Gene took several SNL actor and actresses' lives. I decoded it. I was freaking out. I was literally freaking out. That's when I was living in Slide Out. I went through all that because SNL has a mysterious thing about them. Like, why are there always actors and actresses that pass away that work on SNL? And then SNL, she uses senile, which I know you guys already got that. And then, so I went through the actors and actresses, all of them, and I was able to decode each of their deaths, and I could see that Gene Roberts took their lives, and she used a road theme to do it. So she used different highways to use it. And where I first picked up on, in one of them was her using Highway 57. Highway 57 runs north and south in Illinois. And in Illinois, I remember when I lived there, there's a famous improv place in New York City, and there's a famous improv place in Chicago. And I get the two of them mixed up. But one of them is called the Improv, and one of them is called Second City. And I keep thinking that Second City is in Chicago, but I think Second City is maybe in New York, and Improv is in Chicago. But they're both, I was obsessed with improv when I was little. Like when I was in high school, still today, I love improv. Like I love it. But those are two famous places. And Saturday Night Live got a lot of their people from these famous improv comedy spots. So anyway, I know that she took John Candy's life. Okay. So if you're going through if you're taking notes on this and you're decoding all the ciphers, you can instantly see by looking at names, initials, anagrams, everything you can see. So she's also making a reference. He was in the movie Uncle Buck. Remember Uncle Buck? And then she's making a reference to my buck teeth. She's also making a reference again to the penny. You have to see previous podcasts, okay, which is, you're going to see my podcast where I decode penny more, deeply, like deeply. It goes around the rescuers, but she's actually using money. I decoded all money. I decoded pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters. Like I decoded money like crazy. So there's so much. There's just so much that she used. But a part of her main theming was using one of my favorite Disney movies when I was little was The Rescuers. And I used to think my name was Penny when I was little. I'm like, that's me. I'm Penny. You could tell she pre-planned my husband's because my first husband's name was Mario. His mom was in love, and so is he. They still are, I'm sure, was in love with Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn is a famous pastor or famous minister. And one time when he was little, I told you she was stalking me all my life when I was little, and she was stalking his family when he was little. And one time when he was little, this is when he was living in California, one time when he was little, his mom took him to see Benny Hinn, and Benny Hinn prayed over him and told him he was going to do really, really, really big things in the future. He is integral and he is important. There is something special for him in the future, and like it meant the world to him, meant everything to him. And when I first found out when I was living in Slidell that Gene Roberts and Romanson Nicole had been stalking us, and I think about his childhood as much as I think about mine. I think about, oh my God, and I'm able to decode because I know his childhood as much as I know mine. I'm able to decode. I'm like, oh my God, she's stalking his family too. Oh my gosh, she's stalking us both at the same time. So I'm like, I tried to tell him, but he kind of went into a little bit of a panic. But you tell anybody this kind of information, they go into a little bit of a panic. But this is real. It's not a lie. She really stalked us. So wherever he's at today, I know he lives here in Tulsa. I hope he's doing good. It's my kids, his dad. Him and his family is a blessing in my life. And both of us continue to be, both of our families continue to be stalked. And you can tell people running up to you, oh my God, you're so special. Be wary of people like that. I'm not talking about Benny Hinn. I'm talking about present day. People will clip and stitch this. Be wary of people like that because there might be people stalking you by being your best freaking friend. And they connect to Gene Roberts, the criminal. So, I mean, I've got Gene Roberts turned in, but she's stalking all of Tulsa at this point. I mean, she's not getting far with this anymore because I've got her so turned in. But anyway, so she took the spin of the word, and she took the spin of the word penny, and then she used Benny. Okay, and then my third husband, his name was Ben. So she used Penny and Benny is what she used there. So she literally like pre-planned all of my husband's everything. Like, I'm just telling you one little small part of this. I'm figuring all of this out. So anyway, so Uncle Buck, Buck would go to Payson. Okay, so Payson is a town that my family is from near their Camp Verde and Christopher Creek. And we've got family ties in Payson. She's using Payson. I bet she's using Payday, the candy bar, but she's using Payson as Payson. She's using that as ransom. So you can tell she's running a ransom hostage racket. And she's using Payson, Payson. Now also, I know this is significant because also when I go back to my childhood in the 70s, my mom, Clay, and my stepdad, Jeff, were huge into board games. And one of the board games, I decoded a lot of the board games that our family played when we were little, because everything in my life is put in my life. Jean puts in my life. So I go back and she like twister, like invisible mustache. Look what I got away doing this here in her family. And I'm like, no, bitch. No, I'm turning you in. But anyway, so Payday was a board game that we played, and then going through and decoding that board game. And the notable part of the board game on that is the Mockingbirds. So on this Sunday, so you'd probably want to go see the Payday game. We played that all the time. We played Clue and Payday. Then they bought an Anti-Monopoly, which I also decoded. I couldn't believe it. I decoded so much off of that. So anyway, also, okay, so Lionel's Playworld is known as the toy capital of the world. Okay, so that's their slogan on their sign, Playworld, and then it says toy capital of the world. So she was using the toy store, and you see what she's saying right there, toy capital. So she is, and also her pre-planning to make herself a Navy captain in the future. So she's pre-planning to erase my life, steal from me, and then paint herself as like she's Madonna. She really did this, I can tell, because she sucks the heck out of Madonna. I've met Madonna several times in mental telepathy, and I know Madonna's mob, so I don't even have to say anything. I just like, just let me turn in, Gene. But anyway, so Madonna in the 80s, she had remember the thing she had, the belt she had, boy toy that she wore. So anyway, I think Jean is like trying to fasten herself or fashion herself is like that in the future, where she pretends that her son Jesse and her daughter-in-law Francesca and all her grandchildren, they're all just being stalked. Every one of them is being stalked. And the military's fun. Then she plays the victim and and tries to frame them. That's what she's trying to do. It is stupid as all get out. So anyway, she's using that, and then at the same time, she's bragging about running child trafficking rings, because she's saying, and then also you see the initials TC there. So, and then you also see WTC, World Trade Center, and then also you see Capital Money. So also the date of Lionel Playworld is 1969 to 1993. And here's some notable decode for you, easy to figure out. GA 2256, which is 11. And here's some more important information. The original Lionel Corporation was founded in 1900 by Joshua Lionel Cohen and Harry C. Grant in New York City. The company's devotees disagree over the date of the incorporation. The official paperwork is dated September 5th. But the paperwork was not filed until September 22nd, more than 2 weeks later. Initially, the company specialized in electrical novelties such as fans and lighting devices. And then I went decoded even more, doing even more research, and I couldn't believe this. So the creators of Playworld, Lionel, the train company, the guy, one of the guys that started the company was heavily interested in and heavily involved in lithography. Remember I told you Gene putting lithographs all over the place in my apartment in Oklahoma City? One of them I put on Twitter. She tries to wash it out constantly, but you can see her little polka dotted J there. She put little black crosses. She put all kind of stuff on the floor. She put little polka dotted J's everywhere. She put black crosses everywhere. She made like little freaking hoof prints. They were all over the place. And I had the worst phone. I tried like heck. I even tried with my laptop trying to get pictures, and she kept like hacking my computer and like fumbling my hand, like I'm trying to get pictures of this. And the pictures that I got, and then she broke in and broke my laptop into my house now. She broke my laptop. But I got one of the pictures out of all of it. I've got one. You can restore the pictures that she broke, and they do know that she was putting lithographs in your apartment. Gene Roberts is a liar. Gene Jernigan Roberts. So lithography invented by, get this, I couldn't believe this. They're laughing because people are like, oh my God. Lithography was invented by Seinfelder, used for music scores and maps. And then see all code Seinfeld, see all previous podcasts. So lithograph of, and then get this. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Lithograph of Charles Marion Russell. Now, you know whose name is Marion. Well, they also want to say Marion Barber. Marion Happy Days. And she has a whole Happy Days terrorism theme. So lithograph of Charles Marion. So she's using that as Charles Manson. Charles Marion Russell's. And the name of it is The Custer Fight, 1903. Okay, so continuing on. 3D Ultra Lionel Traintown is a 1999 third-person railroading game by Sierra. So now there's video game that's important here. Video game by Sierra Online under the casual game brand Sierra Attractions. Now, my stepdad Jeff, he drove a Sierra Nevada pickup truck in 1976. Sierra Attractions license, and he also had that toy train. I bet it was a Lionel train. That was an expensive train. He kept it on the pool table. That's when we lived on Emerald. Licensed by Lionel LLC. Okay, so this links to Christopher Stevens. Okay, so Christopher Stevens was the ambassador that the world knows was killed in the Benghazi attack. Now, you know that Gene Roberts and Herman Nicole did Benghazi. They pre-planned it. They did it. And then it was executed, how it was executed through the military. So the military was just doing their job. I'm going underneath the military and stopping a terrorist named Gene Jernigan Roberts, leader of Charles Manson. So she cannot mess with any military ever again. Gene Roberts did the Benghazi attack. Okay, so Christopher Stevens is inside this. Okay, so I actually have to stop. I'm still on this same topic, but I actually have to stop because I've got stuff I've got to do, and then I'll make another recording later on tonight.